So you want to use a concrete grinder to smooth out a floor or to get rid of tile like we did. Thinset is a beast, especially on concrete. You need a grinder in order to get the job done. Once you've used the rotary hammer to get rid of the tile, then it's time to move on to the concrete grinder. I've got some tips for you on how to use that concrete grinder to get this nice, beautiful floor that you need for whatever the next flooring option is that you're going for. With my very favorite tip that I wish I would have known at the very end. Please make sure you like this video if you find these concrete grinder tips helpful. I know that it would have made my life a little bit easier to know some of these things beyond just the basics, how to use a concrete grinder that is out there right now. If you're interested in following along to the entire home renovation that I'm working on, make sure you hit subscribe. All right, concrete grinder tip number 1. Make sure the thing is level. This is more of the how to use a concrete grinder tip, but it is critical to make sure that that thing is level. Use the leveler to raise and lower the carriage or the wheels so that you can get that level. If it's not level, it's not going to work very well. As you start to level, make sure that you lift up just a little bit if you've got thick Thinset like we did, or it will stall the motor. So you want to just lift up the grinder just a little bit over the edge and start that, and then nice circles as you use the grinder. If you don't do this, you will stall the motor, at least we did. The second tip that is obvious and yet not obvious, cover stuff or completely remove it from the area. If you have a way to block the dust, because it is the dirtiest, messiest job ever, make sure you put up some sort of a zip wall or plastic sheeting if you can. We weren't able to because the entire house is open, so everything is covered in like this fine layer of dust. So if you can cover anything, remove anything, go for it. Do it. You will thank me later. Speaking of covering stuff, make sure you cover yourself, specifically your hair. I did not do that the first time that we used the rotary hammer to remove the tile, and then we're dealing with the grinder, and my hair was like a whole nother shade of gray, and it was awful. Like I had to wash it 3 times. So cover your hair, cover your eyes, cover your mouth, cover your hands, cover anything that you can on your person, as well as the stuff in your house. Which leads us into grinder tip number 3, safety, safety, safety. Make sure that you get a face mask. Absolutely. Make sure that you have safety goggles that are shatter resistant, because stuff is going to fly everywhere. You're going to breathe it into your lungs. Make sure you have hearing protection. That is critical as well. These are obvious, but at the same time, sometimes you just need to hear it again. Do these things because it matters. Tip 4 for using a concrete grinder is to make sure you use the vacuum attachment. It does make a difference. We tried both with and without. Make sure you get a good wet dry shop vac and hook it up. You want to get a nice thick hose on that shop vac. Really make sure that you attach that every single time. Tip number 3 is what not to do, at least for us. The individual that rented the concrete grinder to us suggested that we wet the floor to make it more of a slurry. We tried that. It was a disaster. Unless we did it completely wrong, I'm going to encourage you to not get the floor wet. Just let the dust fly. It will be so much easier to clean up. Speaking of cleanup, use an air compressor and an air gun in order to clean. Make sure that you've got a fan running, open all the windows. These are obvious things, but still important when it comes to using a concrete grinder. We are almost to my favorite tip, but first we have tip number 6 for using a concrete grinder, and that is do not use it on anything but the Thinset. Glue and a concrete grinder don't go together. We had 2 areas that one was Thinset tile, one was glue tile, and when you got onto that glue at all, like it gummed up and stuck up. I'm sure the heat from the machine on that glue just moisturized or whatever it's called, reactivated, that's probably the term, reactivated the glue that was under that other tile. We had to abut against the tile area that had glue under it, but you just need to be super cautious. The concrete grinder and glue, they don't mix. Last concrete grinder tip is to sweep regularly as you go. This is both true for if you're busting up tile with a rotary hammer as well as using the concrete grinder. If you can have a second person help you with this, go a little bit at a time and then sweep out of the way so you can see where you're at. Otherwise, it's gonna look like you've maybe ground some things away and then you sweep and you're like, oh, I missed a chunk or I missed a section, and you have to go back and do it. If you can have somebody sweeping at the same time that you're grinding or breaking up tile with a rotary hammer, that is excellent to know exactly where you've been and where you need to go so you don't have to go back and do it again. Good luck on your concrete grinder journey. I would love to know how it goes. If there are other tips that I have missed that you think other people could use after you use a concrete grinder, please drop a comment below. If you're interested in finding out what my big ugly money pit looks like when it's all said and done, make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching.